All right, what's up, guys? My name is Malik. So, if you're watching this video, that means you are more than likely running a coaching or consulting like business model. And what I'm about to share with you guys is basically going to be, let's just say I'm going to put you guys on some game, okay? So, I'm going to give you guys an entire trust infrastructure that operates within the business. You can also apply some of these economics to your marketing strategy, your churn, reduces your refund because most coaching and consulting businesses tend to have a lot of refunds. Nobody really likes to talk about that, but you do get a lot of people who can generate a lot of sales, but they never talk about the chargebacks and the refunds that they have to issue out. Okay. So it's a lot easier to boast about the front end metrics, but the back end metrics are very, very important. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you guys three variations of basically, I'm going to walk you guys through each stage you guys need to set up within your business. And the best part about this is that you can systematically implement all of these things. And I'll show you guys some tangible basic systems that I built in Go High Level or even in Airtable. You can even use Zapier to duct tape most of this, but with the innovation of AI, not necessarily. So once again, I'll walk you guys through this. So if you're running a productized like agency or a coaching business or a consulting, many clients, this is something you definitely want your CSM, your operational specialist, but more importantly, your entire team to really dive deep on. Okay. So pay very close attention. All right. So the first part actually of this is going to be the system architecture. Okay. So system architecture actually works on two types of principles, the engine and the loop. Okay. So the engine is actually the systems behind it. Obviously, in the loop is the feedback we want to be getting from these two types of things. Okay. So there's two types of loops that I always like to exaggerate the most. Okay. And more importantly, these compounds into all of your retention and fulfillment efforts. Okay. So when you hear me say retention, I'm actually talking about fulfillment. Okay. Because retention for a coaching business is different for an agency. Retention for a coaching business is more geared toward how do you get people to stay long term? Okay. Because at the end of the day, it is info. Once info is consumed, it's all about really get people to stay. And that's actually how you build the retention component for a coaching business. So the first part is going to be the emotional security loop and the economic security loop. Okay. Now, these are the two most vital loops. Okay. Does it economically make sense for your client to stay with your coaching program or continue to pay you? But more importantly, is emotionally secure for them. Even some of the most stand-up people will tell you, some of the people that might be straightforward, hey, just let me do this right away, be straightforward with me, be honest with me, they all have emotional securities that they're after, and you definitely want to make sure you provide those. So you might be wondering, how exactly do I make my clients feel emotionally and economically secure through the duration of my program? Very, very simple. Okay. This is going to be the foundation. So I'm pretty sure most of you guys have implemented this already. But once again, I'm going to walk you guys through this very, very step by step. For the emotional security part, it's all about selling the future, not the service directly. So you need to sell the outcome, sell the dream. I'm sure most of you guys already have that on the front end. Use outcome driven languages, normalize feedback, and don't fear it. Okay. Ensure clients feel seen and heard and supported. But the most important part I actually want to emphasize is normalizing the feedback part. That is going to be the most crucial part whenever you are trying to make clients feel emotionally secure. Then you have the empathetic discovery. Now, empathetic discovery first is very, very vital. And that's pretty much trying to discover as much as possible about the client's business or goal or etc. From an empathetic perspective, meaning taking yourself out of your own shoes and putting yourself in their shoes. Okay. But you also need to correlate that into tangible outcomes. Okay. Tangible results that they will actually see and feel. Then you also need to provide clarity over the complexity. Okay. What I mean by clarity, in short, literally just explain things in the most simplest fashion possible. And then more importantly, the investment feels respected. Okay. Now, with that, you get a reassuring language loop and then you get a secure follow up loop. Okay. Now, a reassuring language loop works like this. Okay. Did I explain that clearly? What questions do you have? One way we could take the next step forward and aligns instead of distance. Okay. So everything must align. The client must be agreeing to what you're saying. They must be agreeing with everything within the future. It has to be 100% across the board. Okay. Then you have the secure follow up loop. Okay. And that's pretty much direction over desperation. Most I do see like oftentimes in the info space or the coaching space, etc. Sometimes if you look at some of these sales calls and stuff, it do come a bit as desperation. Even within the fulfillment side, it seems like they just get on the call, blah, blah. I personally purchased some coaching offers and productized offers as well. And it's pretty cookie cutter. And it does come across as they were just trying to generate sales, right? And then another thing is going to be cultivate, never discard. So you need to cultivate a real type of economic security for the client. And that normally falls down into progress nudges. You are actually not like, hey, I'm checking in, right? But I mean, by progress nudges is kind of like you having your CSM set up a call one-on-one with this person directly. Let's say you have a cohort, it's like 20 people in a cohort, and you guys have these group calls, and the main person who is providing the information and assessing people's goals and assessing people's progress and stuff like that. Then you have the actual guy who is the CSM or the expert or whatever like that. He's personally setting up calls with these people to help them get aligned as well on their goals. And one personal thing I would reckon, if you have experts within each field, such as like marketing, sales, systems, etc., I would also have these type of avatars set up one-on-one calls with these clients. So that way it's not just feeling like a check-in, you're actually like progressing them, and you're checking in on their progress. Okay, then this helps you build a future pipeline, and then it's a compounding output, right? With those things in place, you essentially get the retention up, the referrals up, the LTV up, and the vendors become trusted sources of progress. Okay. So get off my screen. All right. And then the next part of this is actually going to be the maturity model. Okay. And then the maturity model is actually how a coaching or consulting or productized service or cohort, whatever like that, mature. Now, where most coaching businesses live and where they should go. Okay. The maturity ladder works is in 4 stages. Okay. That's transactional, reactive, proactive, and the trust infrastructure. Now, 4 stages a coaching or consulting business must go through. Okay. Most coaching businesses live at stage 1 and 2. And that's pretty much, they assume how the work is done, right? You have the transactional stages: sell the service, not the future; generic onboarding; reactive support. Reactive support meaning you're only reacting because they said something, right? It's not like, okay, we're predicting this reaction to happen and we're going to check it properly, right? No follow-ups after declines. And then the symptoms pretty much is like members ghosting like 1 to 2 months. And the operator can't tell you why. Like, the actual operator within the business who's supposed to be managing all these clients genuinely don't know why. They just say they ghosted. But once again, everything leads up to a causal effect. Okay. Now then you have stage 2, which is reactive. So reactive is like you notice a churn after it happens. You ask for feedback when something breaks. Follow up pretty much is like sporadically, like everywhere. And then the symptom is like, high effort, low retention, and the founder ultimately is the bottleneck, right? And this creates a sense of like stress on the team, especially if you have multiple, avatars and vendors and operators who are operating within the coaching business. Then you have a proactive. This is ideally where you want most coaching businesses. And I'll give you guys a reference of what I mean by this. This is a guy that I personally think is by far one of the best in the game. I don't think no one come close to this guy. So this is actually going to be, what's his name? Sue. Okay. This guy is golden. Okay. He's very proactive, and he has a trust first infrastructure. Okay. And I've never seen no one operate a consulting / coaching business model like this. Okay. He deliberately helps out coaches only, and he have them take the same approach. Although his systems are pretty standardized, I wouldn't say necessarily standardized, but he has a very engaging way, because I've seen some of his videos where he's in the coaching business itself and his Discord and stuff like that. He has a pretty much engaging way that's very proactive with the clients, very trust led first. Okay. And he's very transparent about everything up front. And I personally think that most coaching businesses tend to hide behind a mask, if you ask me. So, he has very outcome charged language, empathetic discovery, catches members before they cancel. He'll even refund someone if he feels like, hey, we can't get you the result, right? And that is the highest form of trust and integrity anyone could have. Okay. and cultivates the not yet ready. And then another thing, what I mean by cultivate the not yet ready is that he's actually proactive with people who say they're not ready, right? If you look at some of his sales calls, you can see him saying, hey, X, Y, and Z, if we don't do this, this is what's going to happen. He's breaking everything very thoroughly. And a symptom of this is retention actually starts to compound and the referrals begin showing up like crazy, okay? Because the ultimate form of retention for a coaching business is one, can you engage these people with a simple monthly recurring revenue strategy without it feeling like a retainer, right? Will they continuously keep getting value out of your coaching services, even if they are done with the core product, right? And then are referrals coming in out of nowhere? Now, granted, referrals are, can you systematically generate referrals? Yes, but at the same time, referrals are up in the air. Okay. Now, stage 4 is actually going to be the trust infrastructure. Every touch point is engineered for security. Okay. So every time you are engaging with a client, it's all geared towards a sense of security for that client, right? So then you have the trust loops, they compound automatically. People look at the content, your ecosystem of value. What does that look like? And is it geared towards building more trust for the client, right? Now, and then this solely becomes a trusted source of progress for clients, right? When clients look at his videos, they feel like they are progressing. They don't even necessarily need to be in his coaching program, but the videos he's giving out, his ecosystem itself is progress, right? He's actually giving tangible ways for people to actually progress. I've looked at one of his videos of his hiring process for vetting and getting setters on board, and that was implementing that is literally progression, right? So tend to view it that way. And then another one is that the outcome of this is clients, they stay for years. I've seen some of his clients, he said, have been with him for 4 years. Like, most coaching businesses could barely break that barrier. Like, I've seen coaching businesses only retain clients for roughly around a couple months or a year, but the goal is to keeping people in the ecosystem. Okay, because you kind of have this tendency of where like you have service providers jumping from coach to coach, using it. It's a whole mess. So you should be proactively trying to keep people in your ecosystem. And I think that's really what separates the good coaches and consultants from, generic ones. Okay. And once again, I'm just a speaker here. I do build systems to help cultivate this and build this for business. My primary skill set is systems. Okay. And then refers consistently, and LTV is the moat, right? LTV, he can openly brag about, his lifetime value for clients. And I think that's going to be the new, vanity metric is the LTV, right? Then I'm gonna give you guys the sauce here. This is gonna be a decision tree. Now, the decision tree is very simple. If slash then logic for each interaction, right? If this happens, then we do this, right? Now, the client interaction playbook is very simple. What to do at each trust decision moment, right? So it pretty much looks like this. You have a client interaction, any touch point, any stage, right? Are they entering, new, returning, or hesitant? Okay. Meaning that, is this a new client? Are they a returning client? Are they hesitant to even be a part of our ecosystem, right? So you could take two approaches, right? If it's an active relationship, right? Are they engaging or slipping, right? So you need to have a scoring slash behavioral system. Now, I gave you guys a way of how to, now to get a scoring slash behavioral system on clients is very simple. So I set up this, one second, if my camera could even pop up here. But I pretty much set up this Airtable, right? And this helps you get a scoring metric on clients. Now, this is openly on Airtable's community platform, whatever. You can actually take this, but this is something that I actually built before I made this video. And you can pretty much map all of this data with forms and have your CSM actively live in this database. Okay. Constantly updating things, constantly implementing things. And it's a very, very powerful dashboard in Airtable, right? So you have metrics by period, then you have the baseline comparison. So you're basically able to compare clients from where they started to where they went. You have milestone tracking within your program. You have active client profiles that you'll have here, their phase number, what phase of the program are they in, etc. Then you also have also added a formula as well, where it could be the target completion date as well. Then you have days overdue, etc. And it genuinely tracks all of this based on the data that's entered in. Then obviously you have time tracking as well. It's important you are tracking the time of the duration of when the client starts within the program and when it ends, how much time they're spending within the groups and stuff like that, et cetera. These are like small metrics that really allow you to get foresight into a business operation, into the client, I would say. Okay. Because the goal here to make referrals predictable and trust a vital component of our business, we need foresight. Then obviously you can have your CSMs and stuff like that set up. Okay. So that is pretty much that. You can freely take that. I'll put it in the description as well. Then now let's say if they're slipping, if they're if they're slipping away, right? So we need to trigger a progress nudge, a specific goal, not a check-in. Okay. So that means we need to pretty much curate an entire goal plan around where they currently at in the coaching, it in their current stage within your program, right? So we need to restructure their goal because they're not getting a specific outcome, because they're slipping away, meaning they're about to churn. Then are they engaged, right? So we need to reinforce their wins, name them and stuff like that. So you need to kind of gamify the experience. In most coaching service businesses, they have like, a specific chat dedicated to wins and stuff like that. But I think you can do it a little bit more with flying them out, obviously, and then interviewing them one-on-one. So you guys get the gist, right? Then you have another route you could take, which is empathetic discovery if they're new or if they're hesitant. Once again, we want to lead with asking outcome charged questions. What does success look like in 6 months? And more importantly, can we translate it to tangible results, right? If we're going to lead with outcome charged language, we also need to start leading with tangible translations, meaning like X, Y, and Z, this happens. If we implement this, this is what's going to happen. Let me show you this and stuff like that, right? And then what this ultimately creates is the client feels seen, secure, and the loop restarts at the next interaction. So I'm going to walk you guys through this very simple. You have the interaction. What stage are they in, right? New, returning, hesitant. If they are new, obviously, or hesitant, we want to take our empathetic discovery approach, only using outcome charged languages and questions. What does success look like in 6 months? And then we want to translate that into tangible outcomes. Then we also have, if they're an existing client or returning, right? We want to see where is that relationship at? What type of scoring or behavior practices do we have? What type of scoring or behavioral tracking do we have on this client? Now, to execute behavioral scoring is very, very simple. You need to have a point system in place for each client that get onboarded. I would say a simple 10-point system, right? If they're engaged with the program, that's a point. If they stop engaging, that's negative a point, because these are predictors that we can leverage to determine whether or not if someone's going to churn, then we can ultimately stop that, right? And this only comes from someone who cares, right? You need to have a dedicated CSM. And I am going to release this video on building a behavioral scoring system, and I'm actually going to offer the system. I do have something already slightly built for that. But this Airtable base should help out significantly because it do have formulas in there to actually help you score the behavior. Okay. Now, with all that being said, here are a few system components that you guys could take advantage of as well. I do believe I have this in WAP. And pretty much this is a retention operating system that I built for coaches, consultants, and productized agencies. And pretty much you have all these different system components you could easily build within GHL: at rescue sequence, at rescue detection, stuff like that, testimonial request, client onboarding sequence. And all of these are actually mapped to Airtable, believe it or not. As you can see, the emails are all here. We're going to be updating everything. Everything is tracked, properly tagged. You can also build in your own email sequences and stuff like that. Okay. But everything here is geared towards informing the team and also making sure the onboarding is structured. If you guys want access, it's a pretty basic system. If you're someone who struggles a lot with managing multiple clients, this is a very, very good system. I'm going to be offering it on WAP here. And then we have the Airtable sync there as well. Then we have all the form intakes. Okay, this is very, very important. Form intakes is you intaking data, and you constantly need to be doing that throughout the duration of your coaching program. And this is how you actually, and I'm actually going to show you guys a few of the forms and how they work. We have an exit form, right, for clients who exited. And then this is all based on their behavior. So yeah, no results, not a good fit, found another solution, etc. Then you also have here another one. This is a no-brainer as well. You have the onboarding form submission. The onboarding form is vital. Most people have a very generic onboarding form, but you can get a lot of information from someone on the onboarding process. In fact, the onboarding is the foundation of the client's baseline and will give you way more information. And also you do get a bit of foresight on the onboarding form if you built it right. So once again, I'll do a deep dive on the system part, but I just wanted to show you guys a basic system you can set up, right, for a lot of this stuff. So yeah, if I go here to sites, and I'll show you guys what the actual forms look like. This is just a template account. Then you have the weekly check-ins right here. This is what the weekly check-in form looks like. And then you're setting this every week, and then you must create a culture of people actually filling these out. Most people have these in place, but they don't really have people fill it out, which kind of sucks. Then you also have the exit form. This is important too, because just because someone churn, it doesn't mean you can't get any information off of them. So that's why I say if you know someone is likely to churn indefinitely, it's important that you can gather as much information as possible on them, on why they are leaving, because some people just prefer to ghost if they feel like they're not going to get much out of it. So yeah, all that said, I know I went on a tangent there. I can go on and on about building unique systems, but this is pretty much a quality system that you can implement and use every day for a coaching or consulting business. And it's pretty standard, but it works very effective, especially if you do not have an insight on how most things work. So I'll share the solution chart. You can read through it thoroughly and implement it yourself. You can literally build a system component around everything I just mentioned in this video and on this solution chart. If that was very very helpful, feel free. You can actually fill out a form down below, and you can actually chat with me one-on-one for free, no strings attached. If you have any system like questions or anything you're looking to implement or trying to implement, but can't simply do the execution part, I'll tell you exactly how to do it completely for free, no strings attached. Just fill out the form down below. I'll see you guys on the next one.